On this video, we're gonna walk through the earned value concepts, but from the perspective of a project director, from the delivery point of view, to produce an outcome that satisfies the requirements of the head office or your project director. We have structured this explanation into 6 blocks. In each of these blocks, we're gonna go into one particular concept of the earned value. On the block 1, we're explaining how currently, and might happen to you in your experience, that the production, the delivery team, and the reporting team many times were as 2 separate silos. So earned value gets information somehow from site, and delivery is just caring about delivering the project on the days that the schedule says. So let's dive into it. So I want to start with this familiar situation. You're a project manager, a project engineer, a site engineer, and then you have to meet with supervisors, with subcontractors, and put all of them together in a conference room and start talking about what are the next sectors you are working on, how many people you have on site, what are your constraints, which materials do you require, and what are the drawings you need to keep progressing further. That's a normal day-to-day in a construction environment, regardless if it is an infrastructure project, a building, a rail. Most of the construction civil projects are pretty much similar in a day-to-day basis. And many times what happens is after you finish your meetings during the day, you receive many phone calls. But the phone call that puts you in a stressful situation is when your boss is calling you from the head office, and he's asking about our earned value department has already run some calculations and find out that we are going to deliver the project with a bigger overrun of money. And you just cannot believe this because you are achieving your days, you are progressing in the project. So how this could be possible? What happens next is that you are sitting in a conference room with many people in suits, and they are talking about metrics, earned value, plan value, cost, variances, and you don't understand because they seems to be speaking in a different language. It just doesn't make sense what they're talking about. Luckily, on this particular case, the project director is not blaming you. Instead, he's asking for you to merge efforts with the earned value reporting team to find out the better solution. So you're back to site, you start putting some concrete in some walls, coordinating the concrete pump, and so on, because the project needs to keep progressing, even though the reporting are not saying what they expected it should be saying. So let's continue to block number 2, which is connecting the dots. What we're gonna do in this stage is start correlating what we already know about project delivery to the variables of earned value. Let's start with the most fundamental part of a delivery project, which is the planning, the schedule. So we are given a schedule from the contract, which then we transfer in a target schedule. And this target schedule is broken down into small pieces of plans. So then you meet with your subcontractor, with your engineers, and you as a project manager, as a site engineer, start working out what you should be doing now, this month, in order to deliver what you are expecting to do for achieving the target dates. For that, we use the tool of schedule. And to make this example very simple, but the principles are applicable to any size of project, we're going to say that we're working in a 5 activities project, which consists of site preparation, foundation works, structural steel, mechanical electrical, and fit-out commissioning. Don't think about yet the amount inside of the parts, but think about them as activities that might have a start and a finish. And this particular project, let's expand the duration of 5 months. So what is your scope? Delivering these 5 activities within a time frame of 5 months. But then a concept that you might not be seeing now is that all of these activities have a budget. So it has a amount of cost, what it should be cost to deliver them. So the budget comes from transforming our estimate information into the contract we agree with our client. Let's transfer this information into a table, but you already know the values that I'm saying it should cost you to deliver the site preparation for this particular project. So we transfer the information into this table. Yeah, we transfer from a schedule into a table. it says the same information, the same 5 activities with the same amount of money, and start and finish, but in this case we put this information in 2 columns. And at this stage you might be thinking why you need to know that. Because it happens that to run earn value, we need the information every month. And since many activities happens to occur in more than 1 month, we need to know what part of that activity belongs to a particular month. In this case, let's see the first activity, the sky blue. So we got that in the previous slide is 180, but 180 is going to be delivered in 2 months, 120 in January and the remaining 60 in February. And that's the same case for many other activities. So I'm going to come back for a second. This is your planning, who comes from a schedule. But the schedule, if you transfer that with money, then you got a plan value. That's the first variable we need to start creating earn value metrics reporting. So, in a nutshell, what this represents, this is the value of work that you should have been delivering each of the months since you start working till you finish. And this is against where we are going to measure our performance and the cost we spend to achieve that performance. It's good to have it by colors, but then when we run the calculations, maybe it's more convenient to use one color for plan value. We're going to use another columns for earn value and actual cost. Don't think about the variables at this stage, we're going to explain them later. After you meet with the earn value manager or the reporting person you are dealing with, you need to get back to site. Now you are doing some piling works because the piling is required to keep progressing in your day-to-day activities. Now let's discuss the variable that gives the name to the methodology, the earned. So when you're on site, then when you're on site as a site engineer, supervisor or project manager, you want to know what you achieve and at what cost. If you start pouring concrete in some columns, doing some form work, you want to know how much I have produced and how much this has cost me. Let's say from your perspective, just in man hours. Like how many hours of people do I require to pour this concrete column? And for that you do production tracking. Every project manager, every site engineer wants to know if to produce these 10 columns I have spent 1,000 hours of people, then how many more hours or how many more labors do I need to complete the remaining 5 columns? To do that, you on your daily meeting, in your weekly, probably not daily, in your weekly you're gonna start asking your supervisors, how much have you produced? How many meters squares, meters cubes, linear meters of these particular line items have you produced this last week? And believe it or not, this is the key to calculate earn value. So earn value is multiplying the progress you have achieved in a particular activity times the budget of that activity. Let's say you have achieved 10%, then the earn value is 10% of the budget. On this reporting period, let's say January 2026, you have achieved for January 100, which means you have progressed all the activities in a value of work that represents 100. And to achieve that progress, you have used plant, labor, material, subcontractors that is equal to 130,000. So for this reporting period, earn value 100, plan value 120. It was the baseline transformed into a monthly time phase information. Actual cost 130. And with this, we can start calculating the index and also cost and schedule variances. Let's just calculate with CPI and SPI, which for this case is 100 divided 130 equals 0.76, and SPI 100 divided 120, 0.83. If someone used this index to tell you how are you gonna deliver, you're gonna finish the project, you probably won't believe him. And you're right, you shouldn't use these metrics as an indicator of the forecast of the finish of the project, because there are too many variables behind these numbers that we can say certainly what's gonna happen next month. There are too many variables in construction that we shouldn't use this as a forecasting information, but it is good as a prescriptive. So it's saying how we're performing in the past, and the explanation might come in further slides. After you go back to site, then you start finding that there was a water table that was higher than expected. And for this case, you find out that you need more labor, more resources, and that's what ending causing your low CPI. But that doesn't mean your CPI is going to be the same for the rest of the project. So you are doing right to explain the variances, and you're doing right as well to not assume this is going to be the performance for the rest of the project. Let's go to connect the next point, constraints. Every single project has multiple constraints, which come from the project itself, or maybe from some permits, or material supply, or shortage of labor. They are just simple too many. And to track them, if you are doing this, you are doing already right, which is a constraint management, which basically is in a board, a big one. You start listing all of them, and you discuss them with your supervisor, with your project engineers in every single weekly meeting. In that way, you keep a track of what was happening. Let's say you can access the site access number 2 because there is a permit pending for the environment department. Or maybe you can proceed with the pouring of concrete or the reinforcement of a specific column because there is an RFI pending of response from the design team. The constraints are just too many, but they are the key to understand why our cost is going higher or why are we delivering late. So you keep working in your delivery side in a day-to-day. You start not pouring some concrete on slabs. You meet with your subcontractors, with your supervisors. You start checking that the delivery is going as planned. And now here it comes. It's time for another reporting period. On this case, we're in February month. And our earned value is equal to 240 and our actual cost is equal to 250. So let's calculate our cumulative index, which are CPI 340 divided 380, 0.89, and SPI 340 divided 380, 0.89. So after 1 month running earned value, you start connecting the dots and you're understanding the importance of this framework. So you start implementing and finding out the root causes, and your CPI improve a little bit. Also, you run an estimate at completion through the estimate to complete through a forecast, looking what other resources you need to finish the job, not through using the indices, but to doing a build-up comparison. This build-up is you start asking supervisors, how many more laborers, how many more concrete, how much of this material do you need to finish the work? And you find out that the estimate to complete is 1100. So your estimate at completion is 1418. So in comparison with your budget, which was 14,000, you got a variance of 18,000. And then let's take a moment to see this graph. We can spot by the colors which are the variables we are talking about. The blue belongs to plan value, the baseline. The EV, the earned value, what we have achieved with the effort we have put into the site. And the cost, what much has cost us to complete this work. Plus, we got 2 variables. How much remaining work we have to do. So you see the sky blue bar now, you start seeing that in your plan value, you were planning to finish in May with 170,000. But now you have to do too much work at the end of the project because of poor performance during the first 2 months of the project. And the same happens with the estimate to complete because you are making an accurate estimation of how much money will you spend in the upcoming months. So that way, the head office, your project director will know how much funding this particular project needs in March, April, and May. By this stage, you start getting more involved with the earned value reporting because you start seeing the importance of that. So you start explaining your variances through the constraints. In these meetings with the earned value person, with the earned value manager, you start working together. Now we move to block number 5, the forecast nobody wants to give. So what that means, we sit in a meeting room and then we start figuring out that the funds are not enough, so we need more money to finish the project, and maybe we need more time. And that's a really uncomfortable moment. And think about that. How many times has that happened to you in your project experience? Maybe many times. And that's really uncomfortable. And maybe that could be a reason why people don't want to implement R value, because they don't want to see the problem until that hits them. But you are different. You're in this meeting room to face the project director, to face the head office executives, and tell them that you're doing your best effort, but even though there are some variables that are hitting your project. What's happening in this month? We introduced two variables, the earn value to go and the estimate to complete -1. What means what we say last month, what we were planning to achieve this month. So on the earn value, let's look at March. We say last month that we were planning to deliver the value of work of 350, but we already delivered 330. That's a 20,000 difference. And that 20,000, it has to be delivered some time of the project. And that means it's just being pushed forward. What this is causing now, it's in June, we got an extra month of periods where there is no baseline because there wasn't planned to be working in June. We got a value of air value cumulative from all the previous poor performance, and also we got a cost. Of course, we need money to achieve progress. And what it is causing, like our estimated completion now is this value, and causing our variance at completion is 150,000 negative. So I'm putting this in this simple way to explain. We got a budget, an original amount, and what happens many times is that for some reason we got variations, we got more work to achieve, or maybe we got like positive or negative variances. I'm putting here a positive variance. So we got more value to deliver. And that give us a budget at completion. But then we find out that the money that we need to achieve this project, these 5 activities, this level crossing removal, this tunnel, whatever, it's bigger than we were expecting. So that caused a variance, which is a negative impact on the project. Another way to see this is like the estimate at completion is the sum up of different variables, such as the amount of value you have paid to labor, subcontractors, materials. There also maybe there's some remaining amount of money to pay. Then there is some commitment, some money you already sign up with a subcontractor, and there is some uncommitted value of money. So it's money that through your forecast you know you need to spend. It's just you don't know how are you going to spend that money. Regardless of the negative variance, site production cannot stop. So you start lifting some girders, some beams to put the bridge. Then you start working some in night shifts with extra people working extra so you can deliver at least on time. After a few months of implementation, something shifts in the mindset of the project manager. What happens is a project manager, you in this case, you start asking about CPI, the performance index of different control accounts. It's more a proactive behavior than a reactive, like it was at the beginning of this video. So that ending promoting that your performance improve, and then we don't have anymore the month number 6. In April you perform a bigger value of work. So now your variance at completion is 70 negative. It's less than last month, and hopefully it's gonna get reduced by the performance of May. And that's how this explanation ends. Then you finish the project, and then every time you pass by to this project, you can feel proud that you delivered this, and somehow you help your city to improve the infrastructure.